Let's move on to the next guy, Sam Laporta, Iowa tight end, 6'3" 3/8, 245 pounds, 10 1/4 inch hands. Ran a 4.59 in the 40, 1.59 in the 10-yard split. He ran the 20-yard shuttle as well, 4.25.
Ran the 3-cone.
3-cone, 6.91.
That's good.
That's real good.
Definitely for being 6'3", 245. That is fantastic.
Those are good wide receiver numbers. So that is good. The broad jump, 123 inches. Nothing on the bench or the vertical. Last year,
vertical 35 inches.
Well, I don't have that.
Yeah, that's what I have done.
Maybe he did at the pro day or something goofy. Or maybe I just missed it. 12 games last year, 58 receptions, 657 yards receiving, only 1 touchdown. He did have a couple of rushes for 6 yards.
Yeah, you say 1 touchdown. I actually got some notes on that because the previous year so with Sam Laporta, who's also really young, he just turned 22 on January 12th. Yep. So he's really young as well. The previous year in 2021, 14 games, 53 receptions, 670 yards, 3 touchdowns. 3. So you say, only 1 touchdown this year, only 3 touchdowns last year. He's only got 5 touchdowns total in his whole career on 153 receptions. But to be fair, his team only had 7 passing touchdowns in 22 and 12 in 2021. So
bad.
So take that for what it is.
I think he led the team, didn't he, the past 2 seasons?
He did. He's just like Michael Mayer led the team for Notre Dame. Sam Laporta led the team for Iowa. He was the number 1 weapon. This is who they targeted for their target. So he's kind of similar to Trey McBride. The second-round pick last year, first tight end on the board, John Mackey Award winner for the Cardinals last year. In height, weight, arms, 40 and vert, they're very similar. But when watching Sam Laporta's tape, I got really excited. This is somebody, when you put the ball in his hands, he makes it happen. 20 broken tackles last year, second amongst all tight ends. Really good with the ball in his hands. 57% of his yards came after the catch last year. Has a really good spin move. He's shifty. He's really tough on linebackers. He's got good size, good speed, really good contact balance.
Yeah, and he's got some good, I feel like some good snap and suddenness in his routes too, like for a guy that's that big. And I think that kind of, you can see it on tape, but it also backs up his 3-cone numbers and all that kind of stuff.
He's a former wide receiver.
That makes sense.
It makes total sense.
I didn't know.
When you watch, and you're like, because when I watched it, I was like, oh man, he's got loose hips. Mm-hmm. And then like, after doing my film study, you dive in on his pass, his stats, all that. And you're like, oh, he's a former wide receiver. That makes sense because the way he runs route. He's lined all over. He runs good routes, first of all. Yeah. He's got loose hips. He's got really good feet as well.
It also makes sense because I think he's a good blocker, but he's not the type of blocker you're used to seeing at Iowa.
And good. I don't like good blockers. I want to go catch footballs.
He's just like, you're okay.
But I thought it makes sense as well as to be a former receiver. Like the way, like dude, he reads coverage pretty well. Like he's always finding a soft spot in the zone. Like look at him.
You gotta love tight ends like that, or just any kind of wide receiver that knows how to sit down in the zone and just be friendly to your quarterback. That's what you're there for. Most of the time is just, hey man, I'm an outlet, or you know what I mean. Like here's the soft spot in the zone. I'm just gonna settle here. If you see me, throw me the ball. You know what I mean?
And he's the exact kind of person you want to do that because when you put the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. Gets off the line. He's very good versus press coverage as well. So there's a lot of good things here to sit here and get all uppity about Sam Laporta. I mean, he tore his meniscus in November 2022, but played in his bowl game, so he came back. I didn't love him in contested catches.
That was my biggest weakness. I wrote that in there. I think this is an area of weakness for him from what I've seen. He needs to work on that. And I don't know if that's something you can work on. You're kind of either good at it or you're not.
You can't work on that. No.
And that's what kind of troubles me. It's not as over. I mean, his hands are fine when he's just catching passes.
14 drops in 3 seasons.
Nothing special. They're fine.
But they're fine.
But contested catches, they're downright bad.
They're bad.
Yeah. So that's a problem.
For being 6'3", 245, it's my biggest concern on him for cons wise because when you're watching,
he's good athletically. He's good
everything else.
Yeah.
He's exciting. Like his upside is for me, like he's a tough call with Michael Mayer for me because Michael Mayer to me seems so safe. But here's the thing.
But he's got a cap on his ceiling.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when it comes to tight end, I'm not here like I'm trying to have babies. Like I'm not trying to be safe, right? Like I'm going in and whatever happens.
There's
so give me the upside, right?
There's plenty of safe tight ends out there. right? I mean, like,
Yeah,
you can get those guys.
You can trade
cheap.
for those
Right.
guys for nickels on the dollar.
Yeah.
Not pennies because people still want them. But, and that's what Michael, like, I don't want that guy on my roster because there's 80 of them out there that can literally just go, you can just pick that guy up usually somewhere. Like, you can find those. There's Robert Tunyons out there you can pick up off the waiver wire for a year in, year out. You know what I mean? So Sam Laporta to me offers that upside where I had him come in when I was all done with this as my tight end 4 in this class.
I'm not
right
sure.
ahead of Michael Mayer.
I'm not sure he's going to make it there for me. And it's the contested catches. I'm going to have to dig in some more. How about that?
For him, it really depends on where he lands in the draft and where and how he's going to be schemed and how he's going to be used. Because
it bothers me when people are that bad at contested catches.
Definitely a tight end.
Because it's not going to get better at the NFL.
No.
You're going to get the windows are going to shrink. You know what I mean? Your separation is going to go down.
So Mayer's probably ahead of him.
You're always going to have a guy on your hip. You know what I mean?
But he is so good with the ball in his hands. Like, he's so tough to bring down. So, like, that's what I'm saying. If he gets a draft capital and he's a part of the offense and he's schemed for, like, he's like, if he's treated like if anybody's treated like Mark Andrews in offense, but like George, if he's schemed for in the right offense and you find those spots in the zone for you and you can get him the ball closer to the line of scrimmage, he can make things happen for your team. And he's the perfect kind of player that if he ends up being in that position, and obviously you can say this about any runner that gets a lot of carries, any tight end that ends in that position. Like, if Michael Mayer gets the ball and you scheme for that, like, he's going to get the ball, he's going to go down, but he's getting a reception, he's getting the yards. I feel like Sam Laporta, you put in the same exact position, you scheme for, you get the ball in his hands, like, he's going to score touchdowns, and he's going to get that yak after, and he's going to score some points, and he's going to find himself in that 4 to 6 range amongst fantasy tight ends.
I mean, I agree. And
he's young, too, so he's got time to grow as well. Maybe he can work on that contested catch. Probably not, but you never know.
Yeah, I feel like that's something you got to do.
Creatine?
Yeah.
A little protein?
Protein. Some protein right in those hands. Just inject it in there.
So I'm probably a little bit higher on him than you, sounds like. But
you are, but
I like it. I like his fantasy football upside.
But we're not far off on the total eval. I think we're pretty close. I think the contested catches bother me a little bit, and I'm going to dig in a little bit more on him, and I'll see where he lands after I watch. I'm going to go out there and find maybe 4 or 5 more games of him, and see him maybe in some more situations.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Even dating back to a few years in the past or something.
Yeah, in 3 seasons, he had a total of 14 catches. I didn't watch a lot of film from last year, but that'd probably be a good point to watch a little bit more because, I mean, there's that one play. I can't remember what team it was versus. I mean, he literally had 10 dudes. I mean, there's 11 on defense. Maybe like 8 of them hit him.
Yeah,
and he just
like pinballing, ping, bong, bong.
He's like, dude, he has a good spin move out there. So he's hitting them spins, contact balance, and going. I mean, he went from being hit and end up getting like 13 more yards after. It was like it's one of the defining plays I watched for him. I'm like, I literally I had to stop, rewind it, watch it again, stop, rewind it, and watch it again.
And to your earlier point, Michael Mayer is not going to offer any of that kind of stuff. And he is one of those guys that I saw him against Ohio State in the open field. He just knocked the ball out of his own hand. Like,
he got hit, went away. It was like this.
Yeah,
and had the ball in his own hand.
Yeah,
that was versus Ohio State.
Yeah. Like, dude, just go down.
But he got the ball back. He picked it back up.
He did.
And he went down.
Yeah, just go down, big man.
Those are always the funny ones, the imaginary fumbles when you fumble on yourself.
Yeah.
So, Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa, he's top 5 for me.
Okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah, no, you can say whatever you want. You can make him your top 1 if you want. I don't think I'm going to.
I have him at...
But he's up there for me as far as
4
potential because he's got huge high upside.
Yeah.
I don't know how to rectify the contested catch.
It's clustered there for him. I mean, there's more guys we still got to talk about that I feel very comfortable about. I mean, so I said 1. Yep. I said Darnell Washington's in there somewhere.
Yep.
But I think I have Darnell Washington like 3.
I think so do I.
Then Sam Laporta 4. Michael Mayer 5. Who's 1? Next show, Kincaid. But who's 2?